Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes. Today I am welcoming back John Dayton, who is going to share some other wonderful stories about his time in Hollywood. Please welcome John Dayton.
Good morning, good afternoon, good
Good
evening.
morning. So great to have you join me again as we talk about Hollywood
Yeah,
and life and all
yeah,
things
good.
all
All things
things.
good, right?
Yes, all safe topics. But
So,
you
yeah,
always have such great stories about your time working in the business. So people always enjoy all of your stories. And you're going to write a book at some point, right?
yes, but I'm just interesting you said that. I have written 12 books, totally not about Hollywood, but I'll put in a shameful, well, I can do it now, why not?
Yeah.
This is the cover. It's called Guardians of the Sea, and it's for kids. It's a Kindle book, so it's an e-book. It's for kids 2 to maybe 8, and it's a series that follows two turtles.
Oh,
I know. I think Earl would have loved this. Uh, so they are born, Toby and Ollie, and they go on adventures, and the kids go on adventures with them to clean up the ocean.
oh,
It's environmental. So I've written 12 books. They're written. So it's a series. It's an odyssey. What's on the cover now? Yeah, so book one is Facing Fears, Finding Courage. And it's all poetry.
wow.
So yeah, the books are very short and illustrated by me and my AI partner, which is fascinating. So, yeah, and it'll be on Amazon, I think around the 10th, it'll be up. And yeah, so I'm really happy about that.
Yeah. Well, great. I'll make sure that to put that information in the video details here so that people can click
Yeah,
on
that would
and
be
go
great.
go find
Yeah,
it.
that would
Yeah.
be great. I
For your
didn't,
children, your grandchildren, yourself. We all
yeah.
love children's books.
Well, that brings us to an interesting topic here. It's not easy getting old. And I know a lot of our viewers will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Earl used to say, growing old is not for sissies.
It's definitely not.
Yeah.
And so I was awakened to that when I had my yearly physical, and they asked me to spell world backwards.
Ah,
So when they start asking you how to spell words, then you know, okay, what's going on here? And then actually, when the nurse came in, the first thing she said was, I'm going to give you 3 words and I'll ask you to repeat them later. Apple, tree, table. Those are
mm.
my 3. Anyways, when the doctor came in, he said, wow, this is great. You did 100%. So I'm still kind of here.
Oh, good.
It's like, uh, yeah. So it gives me a new appreciation of Kate and actually of myself because I've always looked at life in a positive way. So I've always been very positive. And a good part of that was the Waltons because if you have your first experience in the business and it's so positive and it's so wonderful, it you never forget that. You never forget that. And it's always been my way of looking at life anyway. But so much kind of like a child. I have never lost that sense of fascination, which was Kate's favorite word, about the world around me. and the prospect of everything being good, everything,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, it's a good thing. My hair turned gray. And Kate used to say, I was turning then. Kate used to say, well, go ahead and dye it if you feel better about yourself. And it was funny because I thought about that the other day. So I touched my hair. But that positive outlook, and another friend of mine, he's passed, my grandparent, he used to say, if you lose that sense of being a child, get it back, because it's the best thing you can have. And Kate was that way. I have always been that way. And at times I would think, well, that's a pretty juvenile way of looking at life, you know? As we get older, we get punched around a bit, you know? And especially in our business. Kate, I realized after Katharine Hepburn, so from now on, when I talk about Kate, it's Katharine Hepburn. But our friendship, there was something special about it. And during our first movie together, which was The Man Upstairs, day one, shooting in the living room of a home up in Vancouver with Ryan O'Neal. In the middle of a scene, and I believe it was the first scene we were shooting, she kept going up on her lines. And it was hot. It was hot. That was the summer. No, it was the fall. It was September of 1992, I think. And it was awful hot. And, you know, in Vancouver, they're not, as you know, they're not set up for air conditioning, really.
Right. Yeah.
And we were shooting in a house that we had done some construction inside, but the house was not air conditioned. And it was over 100 degrees.
Oh, geez.
It was hot. Let me just say it was hot. So during that first scene that we were shooting with Ryan, Kate kept going up on her lines. And that was okay. I mean, this happens. And she kept getting redder and redder and redder. And she started perspiring. And she looked at me right in the middle of the scene. She looked at me and said, I think I'm having a stroke. And I said, that's it. You know, I was executive producer, thank God. I said, that's it. I grabbed her. I said, we're going to the hospital. She said, don't forget my purse. Don't forget my purse. So we left our poor director, George Schaefer, with Ryan O'Neal and trying to figure out how to cover, which turned out to be the rest of the day. So I was surprised that she was willing to go to the hospital. So we checked her in under my mother's maiden name, as if nobody would know, but yes, everybody knew. And the doctors took her away, and I called her brother, Bob, who was also a physician, and told him what was going on. It turned out that Kate was in the beginnings of dementia. I brought her back out to the car, and there was no way I was going to return her to the set. So I said, well, let's take a ride through Stanley Park. And we did. We had a wonderful ride through Stanley Park. And it was as if for Kate, this had never happened. I mean, we didn't discuss the film. We didn't discuss anything that had happened previous. The visit to the hospital, nothing. We just went out and had a lovely day, and had stopped at the hot dog stand and you know, all the things that are her favorite things to do. So I was aware of the fact that two things were important to Katharine Hepburn: her family and her career. She needed to be working. We all need to be needed. And as we get older, I think that feeling uh, intensifies. It's partly our society that kind of throws old people away, but it's a yearning, a feeling inside. And I went through this with my mother throughout her cancer, was that I need to be needed. And do you remember, Judy, in Grandma Comes Home?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that scene. Yeah,
that was the theme, wasn't it?
yeah, with her and Michael. Yeah,
Michael and the green bean scene, the
yeah,
very famous green bean scene. And then at the end, when she wanted to sweep the porch, with Will. Oh my
yeah,
God, it's almost
yeah,
bringing tears to my eyes. How much more than a kid in his early 20s, very early. I never really appreciated that. And I appreciate that so much now. With that in mind, and I've been hesitant to talk about Kate, but I will tell you it was very real, her dementia, and it was very obvious that it was not getting better, personally and at work. So we had a chat that evening. We had some scotch and sat in front of the, let's see, sat in front of the fire. And I said, look, I'm going to get you cue cards. And at first she was hesitant, but I said, Kate, acting isn't memorizing.
mm,
You're being. You are being. And she said, you're right. So I called down to LA and I got a gentleman who really had invented cue cards.
mm,
And I'll remember his name in a minute. And he had done he actually was the original guy who did cue cards, and by hand, and had done cue cards for Bob Hope, for Lucy. And he knew where to stand, he knew where to place the cards, he'd watch a
mm,
rehearsal. And so when I called him at home. I can't remember his name, probably his phone number. Uh, and I said, would you like to come up and work with Katharine Hepburn? Well, he started crying. He
mm.
said, that's been my life's dream, to work with Kate. Thank God I got him. And the film went just fine. And in fact, Kate wanted to do her own stunts in the film. And there's a scene, The Man Upstairs. Okay, that was our first film together. There's a scene where she has to confront Ryan O'Neal. He's a burglar. He's crept into her kitchen and she attacks him. Well, first he pulls a gun on her, and the dialogue is fine. And she tries to wrestle the gun out of his hand. And Judy, they went to the floor.
Wow.
Bang! The two of them went right to the floor. We just kept rolling. And she got up. He got up. He helped her. She had the gun now. And it just played so well. We had another, Katharine Hepburn. Hey, this is going to be long. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Okay. Kate loved to drive and fly planes. And she thought she was the best at everything, right?
Mm,
And she was really good. But she had had an accident. She had run into a telephone pole with her car in Old Saybrook. And Phyllis was in the front, her assistant Phyllis was in the front seat. And they both got seriously hurt, totaled the car, of course. Now, Kate said, it wasn't my fault. The pole hit the car. The car did not hit the pole. So they had both sustained some pretty serious injuries. Kate had her ankle broken in a bunch of places. So there was a scene and poor Phyllis, she was jammed up under the glove box. And they were both fine. But there was a scene in the film, in The Man Upstairs, where Kate was going to drive a car. And I said, well, I'd rather that we get a stunt driver, you know? No, I can do it. I get to the set, and it's a little downtown district, and the scene was to take place in a jewelry store that we had constructed. And the shot was Kate was pulling up, supposedly, right?
Mhm.
Pulling up to the curb, gets out of the car and enters the jewelry store. And then we cut to the interior. The two of us got to the set. Kate and I got to the set. And I said, now, look, I've got a stunt driver for you. And she was there and in the same outfit, you know, ready to match. And Kate said, no, I can drive a car.
Mm.
Usually Kate was right about things. I mean, 99% of the time. I hesitantly agreed to let her drive the car. And at that time, Kate was about, she swore she was 5'7", but I think she was more like 5'5".
Mm.
Little, you know, little. So she gets in the car, and it's a big car. I don't remember, it was a Buick, I think. She gets in the car. I was with her till the last second. And the car was to come towards the camera and come to the curb, park, and choose to get out and go in the store. So I said, you okay? I'm fine. So action. The car comes towards the camera, makes a right-hand turn, and she drives it right over the curb and into the jewelry store.
Ah.
Into the front of this jewelry store. Now, thank God she didn't do too much damage to the store. So of course, I said, Kate, you know, we've got to let this stunt driver do it. She said, has she been paid? And I said, yes. And she said, well, then I'll do it again. So all she was concerned about was the driver getting her paycheck, right?
If you'd only known, you could have said, no, she doesn't get paid unless she does it.
Oh, I should have said that. No, you know what? If I had said that, she would have caught me.
Yeah.
She was really good at that. She knew when you weren't telling. Well, I don't think I ever did not tell her the truth. So we did it again. So we patched up the front of the front, and I don't recall anybody getting angry or anything. And she was fine. That's all I cared about, right? We did it again, and it was fine. She actually did it. So there was another, thinking about these funny things in Vancouver on that first movie. There was a scene, oh my gosh. So it's hot, right? And it's called, the title of the show is The Man Upstairs, which was Ryan O'Neal, who they became friendly, and Kate, it was about their relationship. Kate hid him up in the attic. So we had these scenes in the attic, Judy, and you can imagine how hot it was up there.
Wow.
Again, I had a stunt woman because we shot the scene two ways, from the inside and from the outside. Ryan had got stuck on the roof. He got out and he couldn't get back into the house. So the scene was Kate was to reach out, grab him, and pull him into the room. Well, no way would she have the stunt person, but they got paid. And she was always concerned about that, of course. Now, from the inside, we're at her back, so we really couldn't see her face. She literally pulled Ryan into that attic. And again, they hit the floor, the two of them. I'm thinking, oh my God, she's broken something. She was fine. And on the exterior, we did use her, of course. Ryan almost Ryan reaches in, he almost pulled her all the way out into the roof of the house.
Wow.
Oh gosh. Yes, these are all blessings and fun to remember,
Yeah, when everyone was okay.
but everyone was okay.
Wow. That's what I have for you for this segment with John Dayton. I will be back with more of my conversation with John as we continue talking about the films that he made with Katharine Hepburn and working with a number of other famous legends from Hollywood. So please do watch out for those, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.